So I put the Lasfit 42-inch light bar on my Prinsu rack. So I had to do a little modification with their bracket. You have to trim off this front little part so it can sit back behind the fairing metal. So I just took a little grinder, I don't know, maybe an 1/8 inch, 32nd off, just so it can fit in, painted it just to protect it. I mounted it so it's a 1-inch carriage bolt. Then it goes a washer, and then I got the lock nuts with the Teflon on the inside. I had to trim these bolts that come in the bottom mount bracket because it sticks past right here the way it lines up, unless I make the light bar sit back further, which I didn't want to do. So it goes bolt, lock washer, washer, bracket, washer, light bar. The wire is pretty long. If you have a full length roof rack, the plug should probably go just under the hood plastic piece, so you don't have to worry about it. But because I have the 3/4 rack, it sits back further, and then this plug would sit right at like the top of the windshield. So I'm gonna cut it and move it back so the plug is closer back here. So right now I just have it off. I haven't set it up yet. I'm gonna work my way back from the wiring to make sure I don't cut off too much. I tried the lower bracket and it works well, but it definitely sits a little bit lower than the fairing, so it depends on your application, like how much. Right now, I don't know, I have a finger gap, so maybe 1/2 inch gap. So I'll see if that affects any noise or light visibility, I guess. When it was lower and it's tight, it almost looked like, because it has to angle, it almost looked like a little bit of it was being blocked by the fairing. This way you have a 1/2 inch, like it's gonna be full and clear. So I'm gonna test that out. But I used these bolts because then now they're up against the fairing. All you do is take a wrench, I think it was, for these were 14mm, and just tighten them on the sides like that, so you can adjust the light and then you can tighten those easily. The other ones are Allen head, and if you put these on before you mount it fully, then you're not going to be able to get the Allen head wrench in there and be able to tighten it. So you put the light bar on the brackets first, get it fairly snug, then you put the whole assembly onto the fairing and the bracket on the mount and back. And then where I have it switched out, so then it's easy to access and not like tucked under. So yeah, that should be it. This is what it looks like mounted right here. So you can see the bolt is behind here. So I did this so I could get a wrench in there and tighten it as I needed. And then I cut this wire down, like I mentioned, to maybe 1 foot. I put a new plug on here. I was trying to reuse the old one, but I was just having difficulties with it. As soon as I put a new one on, it was no problem. So just put new pins on, use the factory one. I ran it, right now it's underneath my rack bracket, but you can kind of see it goes in here and is inside the channel all the way. I had to trim a little bit at the end right there so it can go through. I'll show you once I get down there. But yeah, if this wire can fit inside this channel fairly easy and still go down. If you go to add any more wires or anything bigger, you'll probably need to figure something else out or take it out of the protected sheath. But I'll show you down there. But yeah, pretty simple. I did rewired it. Plugs in right now. I'm just gonna tape it up to make sure it's fully watertight, and then it's just gonna kind of be tucked in right here. I also checked it before tucking everything in, so it is working right now. But yeah, I'll show you where I ran the wires in just a second. The wire comes out here, trimmed off this little stuff in here. You can see it when you open it up, and then just notched the edge. It's held on by double-sided tape, so I got the one clip right here. There's a little clip that snapped in, and then I'm just gonna use some double-sided tape to keep it down, just so it doesn't flap up too much. But it kind of popping up because as the wire comes flat, it twists vertical, so I could shove it right here down into that gap. I saw some where you can take the wire protector off, so it's just bare wires, and then tuck it underneath this, but for right now I just ran it in there. It looks like it'll work and hold, and then had it go, this can pop out and runs right under, then goes right into this cap right here, and then into the engine bay. It's a little hard to see because I got a lot of wires in there, but I'm gonna clean it up. But it comes out right down here, and then this is where my power block is, and then I'm just running the power there, and I'm gonna run the switch wire into that so I can have a OEM style switch that's gonna go on the dash for it. I put my roof light switch right here and moved down the rear window defroster. I live in Southern California, don't really use that very often, but if you just fit that one there and move these up here. This has special notches in it, so I took a razor blade and cut on the main plastic part, and then it pops right in. Some of them had the same issues, but I've got my ditch lights, LED light bar, roof lights. I can't remember, but one of these came from Amazon and one came from like Cali Rays. The roof lights one, I like this one from Car Trim Home because it actually says roof lights and has kind of like a roof light symbol compared to getting another LED light bar. But Car Trim Home one, the wires were switched around compared to these two. I had to test it. It wasn't just match the same wires orientation. These were switched around where power or common was in the wrong pin switch compared to these two. I had to test it a lot more compared to just following the same orientation. And it's kind of hard to press in. When I press, it doesn't, like if I press soft, it doesn't stick, where these are pretty, you might even be able to hear them. The difference. So not really a fan of the Car Trim Home switch. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. I would try to go with a Cali Rays or different brand, or even Amazon. These were just a lot nicer feel, even though it gives me that roof light symbol. But pretty basic, just running the wires from the relay and engine compartment, and just right there ran my wires all the way up like you saw, and that's it. So that's all done. Just a quick final walkthrough. You can see how I taped up the plugs and just have them sitting right there. Just a little extra room in case I need to trim anything. But the whole light bar is fully installed. Here's like a side view. You can see how far it sits back. I've used it a couple times a night. I mean, it is really bright. I have a 30-inch light bar behind my grill that I got from a buddy that he got off of Amazon, so kind of like a no-name brand. This is insanely bright compared to that one. This is even during the day. You can see it hit my garage door, and it is bright light. I'm really impressed with how bright it is for the cost. See, so there. Yeah, super bright. Here's the light for my 30-inch one. Still bright, but that extra 10 more inches and maybe the LED chips they use, just way brighter.